My treasure? If you want it, I'll let you have it. Go find it if you can. I left everything in this world with it. These are the very first, and arguably the most important words in One Piece, the best-selling manga of all time, written by Eiichiro Oda. They were spoken by the legendary pirate king, Gol D. Roger, right before his execution, and they set off the Great Pirate Era, in which pirates from all over the world searched for the great treasure known as the One Piece. But this premise isn't new. It actually has roots in real-world history. Olivier de Vasseur was a French pirate who lived in the early 18th century. According to legend, when he stood on the scaffold to be hanged, he wore a necklace containing a cryptogram of 17 lines, pictured here, which he threw into the crowd while shouting "Mes trésors à qui saura comprendre," or "My treasure to whom may understand it." Ever since, treasure hunters have tried to decode the message, hoping it will lead to a hidden treasure that, to this day, has never been found. Similarly, William Captain Kidd was a 17th century Scottish privateer who was executed for piracy. Legend has it that he also left behind a hidden treasure, as portrayed in the broadside ballad Captain Kidd's Farewell to the Seas, which goes, 200 bars of gold, and rix dollars manifold, we seized uncontrolled. And yes, this is the namesake for One Piece character Eustace Captain Kidd. These are just a few examples of how Oda draws inspiration from real-world history when building the world of One Piece. So welcome to One Piece of History, a series where we'll explore not just historical references in One Piece, but also how it uses its own history as a narrative tool. Just a few quick notes. There will be no spoilers past chapter 1000. You don't need to know all of One Piece to follow this. And finally, manga panels are read from right to left, both pages and panels. With that out of the way, let's begin. And we have to begin this series with someone we simply can't ignore. Nico Robin. Her backstory and the role she plays as an archaeologist and historian. Robin's story begins in Ohara, 20 years before the main story. She has no family around, and the people of Ohara ostracize her because she has special powers from eating a devil fruit. But Robin does have friends, the archaeologists of Ohara. Their base is a tree of knowledge, a vast library that has been carefully preserved by generations of scholars for 5,000 years. Robin becomes an archaeologist herself. Clover, the head librarian, explains that her mission is to preserve the Tree of Knowledge, to protect and pass on the world's historical knowledge. Robin expresses her desire to learn about the so-called Void Century, a lost period of history. She found a poneglyph in the library's basement using her powers and wants to study it. To clarify, poneglyphs are giant, indestructible stone cubes inscribed with historical knowledge written in an ancient script. Even though the scholars are studying the poneglyph, Clover firmly forbids Robin from joining in. He warns her it's far too dangerous and strictly forbidden. If the government ever found out, they'd all be executed. We also learn that Robin's mother, Olvia, is a wanted criminal for doing so. Shortly after, Olvia returns to Ohara. She reveals that she's the only survivor of a research team that left 6 years earlier in search of the poneglyphs. All 33 of her colleagues were killed by the Navy, and now the government knows they came from Ohara. She urges the scholars to flee before it's too late. But they refuse. They're determined to protect the knowledge housed in their library, no matter the cost. Right then, a government ship arrives. Its mission is to round up every scholar on the island. Government agents storm the library. They accuse the archaeologists of desiring to destroy the world, and order everyone not connected to them to board an evacuation ship. Olvia confronts Spandine, the leader of the government task force. He makes it clear they're going to make an example of Ohara, punishing anyone who dares to research the Void Century. The government begins rounding up the scholars, as a fleet of Navy warships closes in on the island. Span presents a captured and wounded Olvia to the gathered scholars. There, for the first time in 6 years, she sees her daughter, Robin, who refuses to leave the island. Suddenly, an explosion shakes the Tree of Knowledge. A government agent announces that they found the poneglyph in the basement. This marks every archaeologist on the island for death. Span falsely accuses them of trying to create a powerful weapon, but Clover demands to speak with the Five Elders, the highest authority in the world government. As an aside, this is what the Five Elders look like. A closer look reveals that Oda likely based their designs on real historical figures as well. For example, one of them bears a strong resemblance to Mikhail Gorbachev, thanks to his distinct birthmark, while another mirrors Mahatma Gandhi in both clothing and facial features. The castle they reside in Marie-Joise, is also heavily inspired by real-world historical French architecture. It resembles the 16th century Château de Chambord, for example. To continue, Clover passionately argues that the past belongs to all of humanity, and that no one should have the authority to suppress the desire to learn history. But the Five Elders insist that reading the poneglyphs could revive ancient weapons that endanger the world. Clover challenges that claim. Why, he wonders, did people from the Void Century carve messages into indestructible stone tablets rather than write them on paper? He believes it's no coincidence that the Void Century ended right when the world government was founded. Clover's theory is that the people who made the poneglyphs belonged to a kingdom that was wiped out by the Alliance that later became the world government. And now, the world government is erasing any trace of that history. Before Clover can reveal the kingdom's name, he is shot, following the Elder's order. Kill him. Ohara has learned too much. Give the order to attack. Following their command, Span triggers a Buster Call, an order that mobilizes an entire fleet of Navy warships to destroy Ohara. At the same time, the Tree of Knowledge, the great library of Ohara, is set ablaze. The goal? To wipe out all traces of forbidden history. Robin confronts Olvia and asks if she is her mother, but Olvia denies it, trying to protect Robin from being hunted as the daughter of a criminal. But Robin doesn't believe her. Through tears, she explains that she studied hard to become an archaeologist, just like her mother, and that she even learned to read the poneglyphs. Span overhears this, and now Robin has a target on her back, all while Navy bombs rain down on Ohara. Knowledge propagates. We cannot let it spread beyond the island. Obliterate all the demons of Ohara in the name of justice, the Navy orders. With Robin's confession, she is officially marked as a threat. Olvia, realizing they have nothing left to lose, embraces her daughter at last. Olvia urges Robin to carry on their mission. Before they are separated, she says, "Our research will end here. But even if Ohara perishes, we cannot give up on the future of the world." As fire and chaos erupts around them, the scholars of Ohara throw books out the windows of the Tree of Knowledge and into the lake below. It's better for them to be soaked than to be burned. Robin tries to board the evacuation ship with the other civilians, but she's turned away. To them, she's a demon child, the daughter of a criminal. Tragically, the ship Robin was denied entry to is soon destroyed, based on the suspicion that scholars might have snuck aboard. Robin is found by Kuzan, one of the Navy Vice Admirals, who spares her and gives her a boat. And so, with the island in flames, Robin escapes. The Tree of Knowledge is gone. The scholars are dead. Ohara has fallen. But its last survivor carries their legacy. The destruction of Ohara's library draws a clear parallel to real-world history. For one, it resembles the tragic loss of the Great Library of Alexandria, once the largest collection of human knowledge in the ancient world. That library was also consumed by fire, war, and neglect, and centuries of wisdom were lost forever. An even more striking parallel might be the Nazi book burnings. Just like the world government fears the truths locked inside the poneglyphs, authoritarian regimes in real life have often feared the written word. The Nazis intentionally targeted works by Jewish, Marxist, and liberal authors, aiming to erase entire worldviews from public memory. Ohara's story isn't just fictional tragedy. It reflects the dangers of censorship and the importance of historical truth. As Olvia said, history enlightens the future. This echoes George Orwell's words in 1984, where he wrote, "Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past." In the real world, just like in One Piece, authoritarian regimes reshape the past to control the future. This is why historians matter. As Jacob Tanner writes in The Politics of Memory and the Task of the Historian, which is part of the book shown here, published in 2023, historians around the world are under pressure, not because they distort the truth, but because they seek it. Meanwhile, governments pour resources into propaganda and online manipulation, while cutting funding for independent research and archives. And this is an important message in today's age where disinformation runs rampant. Robin symbolizes the historian threatened by the nation's government. After the fires of Ohara faded, the Marines discovered the lake beneath the Tree of Knowledge filled with books. For Robin, survival came at a cost. The government eventually found out that she had escaped, and placed a massive bounty on her head, even though she was only 8 years old. For the next 20 years, she would run from the world, working for people who only valued her for her unique ability to read the poneglyphs. One of these organizations is Baroque Works, led by Crocodile, which is where we first meet Robin in the story, as Miss All Sunday. Crocodile had a reed poneglyph hidden deep beneath Alabasta, believing it held the key to an ancient weapon, Pluton. But Robin deceived him. She claimed it only contained historical records. Later, while their surroundings were collapsing, the king of Alabasta asked why she lied. Robin explains that she didn't care about Crocodile or his plans. She was looking for the Rio poneglyph. Connecting all the poneglyphs scattered throughout the world would reveal the true history of the world. When all hope for her dreams seemed lost, Robin was ready to die, until Luffy, the main protagonist of One Piece, refused to let it happen. Due to Luffy's rescue, Robin joined his crew, the Straw Hat Pirates. As the Straw Hats journey across the seas to reach the One Piece, Robin never stopped searching for the truth. She studies ruins, listens to legends, and uses every opportunity to uncover the past. One of her major breakthroughs came on the Sky Island, Skypiea. There, she discovered more poneglyphs. On those stones, she found something remarkable. One poneglyph mentioned Poseidon, one of the ancient weapons. Another carried an inscription from Goldie Roger himself, a man who should never have been able to read the poneglyphs. Later, the Straw Hats met Rayleigh, first mate of Goldie Roger, and as such, a living link to the past. Robin seized this opportunity to ask him about the Void Century and the true history. Rayleigh confirmed that he had indeed uncovered everything. But he told Robin that she should discover it for herself. Even with the same facts, her interpretation might be different. This is a reminder of how history is shaped not just by facts, but also by the historian's interpretation of the sources. By the way, his name, Silver's Rayleigh, appears to be inspired by both John Silver, the antagonist in the 1883 novel Treasure Island, and Walter Raleigh, a 16th century English explorer and privateer. Later on, Robin was captured and forced to work on a massive bridge, one that had been under construction for 700 years, resembling a labor camp. She was rescued by the Revolutionary Army, who called her the Light of Revolution. To them, she symbolized resistance, a survivor of Ohara, the nation that dared to challenge the world. In One Piece, uncovering and protecting history has a revolutionary character. The Revolutionary Army, led by Dragon, Luffy's father, stands in direct opposition to the world government. They fight for freedom, inspired by real-world revolutionary movements, especially the Cuban Revolution. Details about Dragon reveal that his ship is called Viento Granma, a direct nod to the Granma, which is the name of the boat used by Fidel Castro and his fighters during the Cuban Revolution. Even Dragon's favorite snack is Cuban, bocadito. And on the cover of chapter 702, we see revolutionaries holding a flag clearly inspired by the iconic image of Che Guevara, a global symbol of resistance and rebellion. Oda isn't hiding the connection. The revolutions in One Piece are drawn from history. Much later, after a 2-year time skip, Robin reads another poneglyph, this time on Fishman Island. But this one is not just information, it's a message from someone named Joy Boy. She discusses the message with the king, who explains that Joy Boy lived during the Void Century, and that the ancient weapon Poseidon is actually his daughter, Mermaid Princess Shirahoshi. Later again, the Straw Hats uncover a new type of poneglyph, not just the Sokol records like usual, but a road map. These are fittingly called road poneglyphs, and they each reveal a set of coordinates. Together, the 4 road poneglyphs form a map that points to the final island, Raftel, the place where the treasure of One Piece is said to be. So, to find the One Piece, you need all 4 road poneglyphs, and to read them, you need Robin. This makes her, and her role as a historian, essential to the plot, and not just important to her crew, but to the entire world. It's said that powerful forces across the globe will be hunting her down for this very reason. We also learn where these stones come from, the Kozuki clan of Wano, who carved the poneglyphs over 800 years ago. The last person who could read the poneglyphs was Kozuki Oden. He was executed 20 years earlier, but not before joining Goldie Roger's crew on their final journey to the last island. It was thanks to Oden that Roger could read the poneglyphs. Oden was the one who carved Roger's message for future generations into the poneglyph found on Skypiea. With Oden on board, Roger's pirate crew became the first to reach the final island, and so Roger became the legendary Pirate King. In Oden's journal, we read, "And on that day, we learned the entire truth of the world. What the 100-year void is, what the people of the D are, what the ancient weapons are. In the past, Wano was open to the world, and in the face of that vast treasure, which was very real indeed, Roger just laughed. And so did we all. We laughed until tears sprang to our eyes. Roger said, 'Oh, Joy Boy, I wish I'd been born in your time. This is quite a treasure you've left behind. A tale full of laughs. Say, that gives me an idea. We're the first people to reach this final island in 800 years. Why don't we give it a name? We'll call it Laugh Tale.' Reaching this island and learning what Roger learned is the ultimate goal of One Piece. And that's how Oda does it. He doesn't just borrow from history, he weaves history and its uncovering as narrative tools into the fabric of One Piece. The fire that consumed Ohara was meant to erase history, but it didn't, because Robin lived. And through our journey, we see that history is not just something that is studied, it's something that has to be protected. In a world where truth is often silenced, Robin reminds us that remembering can be a form of resistance. And both in One Piece and in the real world, that fight is far from over. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode of One Piece of History.